Welcome to Experts in Global Sports, Voices of Change, a podcast by the International Coaching Course, the ITK, based at the Sports Science Faculty of Leipzig University in Germany. In this podcast, you are going to listen to Voices of Change about experiences, knowledge, and stories of the ITK community. We want to spread inspiration, passion, and motivation in global sports. In this episode, I spoke to Lucia Andrade Núñez from Uruguay. Lucia is a physical education teacher and an artistic gymnastic coach for girls with and without intellectual disability. We talked about the start of her journey of 24 years of working with the girls, about the different needs they have and the best way to teach them. Lucia talks about her role model and explains the difference between the Special Olympics and the Paralympics. At the end, she gives advice about what to put in your bag as a teacher for people with disability. Enjoy! At the beginning, I asked her how her work with the intellectual disabled kids started.
Firstly, I'd like to tell you that I'm a physical education teacher. I got a specialization in gymnastics here in Uruguay first, and then in Germany, in Leipzig. And when I started working about 23 or 24 years ago, at the first meeting, when I was ready to start working, there was a young mother, raise her hand and say, "Okay, welcome Lucia to our institution. Can a girl with Down syndrome practice gymnastics?" I immediately say, "Yes, of course." I have never thought before that moment. I have never thought about working in gymnastics with a special gymnastics. And when I return to my house, to my home, after this meeting, I immediately start reading and looking for information about Down syndrome girls and works in gymnastics, and also about the things that I must take care working with them, to know what things, if there was anything that they can't do. And I mean, I started learning about working with them, not only with Down syndrome people. I also worked with other gymnasts with special abilities, and it has really it has been a fantastic journey. This 24 years working with them in an inclusive way. Always in my classes, we have people with the special needs and the typical ones. They are used to work together. They learn from each other. I mean, everybody learns about the other people. Everybody get enriched from this kind of work. I'm completely sure about that.
Yeah. And what did you find out there, like 23 years ago at your research, what these people with Down syndrome can't do?
Okay, when you read about that, I think people with intellectual disability has a stigma. It's like something that everybody suppose that they can't do anything, or they are not capable to do certain kind of things. This is a stigma, and fortunately things are changing, and the world is getting realized that they can't a lot of things, and they can do more that the world supposed they could. In my gymnasium where I worked, people with special needs sometimes perform the gymnastics elements that are not easy for a typical people. I mean, with people with no disability, they made the exercise much better than the other girls. And this is something about gymnastics, but I'm sure that they can do everything they want to do. I mean, perhaps they need more time, perhaps they need another kind of explanation, perhaps they do need more demonstration just to copy and can make it. But if we look for the way to teach them, encouraging them to try for several times, I'm completely sure they can do it. I mean, as a teacher, you do need a lot of love, a lot of patience, and a lot of energy to empower, but not this kind of, I mean, not the special gymnastics, all the gymnastics. But I'm completely sure that every gymnastic girl, is a special. Every people is a special. Everyone is special on her way. I mean, everybody is different, and it's. I think it's a matter of understanding the difference.
But what is your, like, do you have different teaching method if you teach like mixed groups, or
yes.
Like just girls with disability?
I do know perhaps there are some kind of disability, the strongest ones, that when you think about working unified, working included, you need extra people to work with you. Just perhaps one people accompanying, going with this special gymnastics. But most of the special girls and boys that comes to the gym can do it independently, can come alone to the gymnast and get the classes, as well as the people without disability. That is magic, because when they are in the gym, they feel independent. They feel that they can be alone and carry with this. That is fantastic. When teaching gymnastics with a special disabilities, sometimes I must use the demonstrative method. I mean, for example, the Down syndrome learns more quickly if you are always showing or demonstrating, or with a video or with a photo, what they should do. For example, this is the handstand, and you show the handstand. I mean, they need to have the ideal model on her mind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got it, they can correct mistakes. It's not easy, but they could realize, most of them, when they made a mistake, when they make a mistake. Again, talking about that everybody is different. There are people that get realized when they make a mistake, but there are people that don't. They think, okay, everything I did it perfect, and you say, oh, but your knee was bent, but okay, anyway.
But that's what you said, like, as you telling it now, I feel like that's also happening to me, for example, that I need to see it, for example, to learn something. And maybe I think at university I had to do gymnastics as well, and I wasn't experienced at all in gymnastics. So yeah, what you're telling now, it's also happened, for example, to me. So yeah, completely right, that everyone's different and everyone learns in a different way. It doesn't depend on, like, if you have intellectual disability or not.
But that, again, the same. Everybody is different, and related with this, I mean, when you teach gymnastics, when you teach something connected with your body, with your movements, you have a genetic information that many times said if you are good for gymnastics or not so good. And being assigned Down syndrome or people with intellectual disability people has nothing to do with being wrong with coordination and be bad. I mean, have a bad or a bad way of no. It has nothing to do, because again the stigma. Everybody thought, okay, but she has Down syndrome. She is not expected to go to run. She's not expected to make gymnastics. She's not expected to, and indeed she can. She can. The problem we have with the Down syndrome people is that her fine coordination is not so developed. I mean, for them, it is very, very, very difficult to understand when you say, okay, put your hands like this. And I mean, the fine movements. We are going to work with your 2 points and the kind of this. But the gross motor skills, I mean, they have any problem. They have problem perhaps with her force, with her power. But when you train, when you train them, they respond very, very good.
You say you want to empower people with disabilities. Do you have any like success story or a nice memory that you can share of your 23 years of work?
Yes, a lot.
Pick the best.
Difficultly. I'm just thinking about, I mean, not only the girls that practice gymnastics, but her families and her community. I think is when I talk with the mothers, she said, "Oh, Lula, really, the fact that they have started practicing gymnastics on that way, on an inclusive way, with a special, it's like a special environment around them, is something that has accompanied all her lives. I mean, with Diana, she was my first Down syndrome gymnastic. We have been together for about 23 years.
Wow.
Yes, that's it. I mean, I'm her second mother nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, and perhaps we are not so conscious of the power that of what this has in. I mean, I do know I do know the impact of our work. I do know we have the power of changing her lives, giving or working for getting the same possibilities, opening spaces and receiving them every day. That is something that it should be more common. It should be. I do know we must work on it, and do not put our arms down. We must fight. We must keep fighting every day for that. You and the gym has give Diana or Brittany or they a way of living happy. Yeah, I think that being a mother, being a father, is the thing that you want the most. That your son is happy.
Sure, and the sport, I think it helps also in the self-confidence for these kids, right?
If of course the teacher that you have teach you to do that. But if the teacher, okay, don't worry, you will never do that. You have Down syndrome. Go to your house and see the television. I mean, say that the teacher that is in front of the class must be sure that they can do that. I mean, sometimes you must look for the better way, and you know how they learn, what they need. But this is a matter. This is not a matter of being Down syndrome, or intellectual disability, or has an intellectual disability. It's a matter of motor skill.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And what is you already said a bit like of the challenges of the different needs, but what would you say is the biggest challenge in your work, or maybe at the beginning was very difficult for you that now you learned?
Yes. At the beginning, I was very nervous because I wanted to make it everything good. And I was all the time reading. And that time, internet was not so as now. Nowadays you put, okay, Down syndrome and gymnastics, and you have a lot of articles speaking, in 1 second. 23, 24 years ago, you must go to the libraries. Perhaps somebody gives you an article, but but anyway, or just speak with a doctor. But on that day, also the doctors were on another school, that, and on that way, 23, 24 years ago, doctors say, okay, don't worry, they can do, because of that stigma. Fortunately, nowadays change. Things are changing, and I think the world is becoming more inclusive, and people are getting realized that they can do a lot of things, and that they are useful, and that they are happy when they are useful.
Yeah, I'm sure you're also a big role model for these girls. I wonder if you have any role model.
Okay, as I told you before, when I started working in gymnastics, I was not prepared for working with special gymnastics. I never thought about working with them. It was something that appeared in my life. And from that moment, and during these years, I think I have felt in love with this. I felt in love on the way that we can learn, when we can teach to the other people that being unified is better. Perhaps there are some things that they can't do at the beginning, but if it takes some time, some patience, they can do. If I have a model, when I started working in Special Olympics, I met Cindy Bigman. She is in charge of the artistic gymnastics and rhythmic gymnastics all over the world in Special Olympics. I didn't met her a lot, but during all these years, we have met more, and I feel identified with her. She's having a great battle against discrimination and trying to unify gymnastics all over the world. And this is fantastic. Working with her and being advised by her, and trying to introduce special programs in the Uruguayan Federation of Gymnastics that depends from FGI, and that would, and if I can reach that, this is going to be a very big change in gymnastics from Uruguay, because up to now all the people are testing when you have a competition on the same way. There's no, up to date, there's no specific competitions for special gymnastics. It's not fair that, because when I go to a competition with my Down syndrome, or gymnast with problem with her vision, or with her earrings, or another intellectual disease, they start from another point as the typical gymnastics. And if everything goes well, this year, the Uruguayan Gymnastics Federation are going to take this program and introduce to her national programs. And that would be fantastic. Yeah. Yes.
Could you explain a bit what is the Special Olympics, like also compared to the Paralympics?
Okay. Special Olympics start in the United States. Was created by Eunice Kennedy. Eunice Kennedy used to have a sister with intellectual disability, and Eunice Kennedy was completely sure that people with intellectual disability can do whatever they want. And when they used to went to the school, they were separated in the classes because of her sister has got an intellectual disability. And Eunice Kennedy, from that moment, was saying, no, in my house, she does the same that I do. So why here you must separate us? And from that moment, she's starting with this, with the trying to unify people with intellectual disability through the sport, trying to empower people with intellectual disability through sport. At the beginning, Special Olympics was only for people with special disabilities. But nowadays, this is changing, and Special Olympics is putting the emphasis on the unification and the inclusion. For Special Olympics, inclusion is revolution. I mean, in the United States, you can find inclusive schools with special programs connected with the Special Olympics. And being an inclusive school is something that is like an honor for the United States program, educative program. Special Olympics, it's a non-governmental movement that works with the sport, and that is convinced that through sport you can empower, you can enrich people. And what is different about Paralympics, that Paralympics work with people that has motion problems. For example, people that hasn't got an arm, hasn't got a leg, hasn't got a part of her body, and also work with people with hearing problems and with vision problems. Paralympics is founded around 1946, 1947, before the Second World War finished. Because it's a way of recruiting all the people that has got some injury after the war.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And they start making some programs with this. That's why Paralympics has got so much force in Germany.
Okay.
In Germany, Paralympics, and not so many Special Olympics.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think many people here at least don't really know what's the difference. You go to Berlin next week for the Special Olympics. Maybe you can tell a little bit about this. What are your plans there, and who's going with you?
Yes, it's going to be fantastic being in Berlin again. Yes, this time I'm going to travel with 6 gymnasts. In gymnastics, in the Special Olympics, you can compete in 4 levels, from 1 to 4. 1 is the level that has less difficulties, and 4 is the more difficult level. We are leaving tomorrow to going to be in Düsseldorf, because in Special Olympics, when you go to a World Games, there's a city from each country that is, and Uruguay is this time Uruguay is going to be Düsseldorf guest, and as a guest, Düsseldorf offers you and is going to show us the traditions from Germany, your culture. They take you and to know perhaps a castle, the things that are typical from the country. that is your guest, and especially from the city that is your guest.
Wow.
After that, we are going to move to Berlin, and there the games are going to start. Yes, it's going to be fantastic.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. To finish, do you have some advice you can give women in gymnastics, especially teaching girls with disability?
Yes. Firstly, that don't doubt in receiving a special gymnastics. It's okay being afraid of that, because if you have never worked with a special gymnastics, I mean, I think it's better if you are afraid, or that if you are okay, it doesn't matter. Because when you are afraid, you try to look for solutions, or to try to get informed about, okay, what to do. Be sure that they can do whatever you let them learn. They can, but you as a teacher must be convinced that they can do it. And you as a teacher must be the right bridge
Mm-hmm.
through the knowledge and them. You must be very open. You must be very open-minded. Put on your bag patience, gymnastics, or the sports that you would like to teach, and love. And don't forget, and never forget, that they can be your son.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Experts in Global Sports, Voices of Change, a podcast of the International Coaching Course. Do you feel inspired by what has been said? Did you learn something new? Do you want to share your story? Get in touch with us on Instagram or Facebook to follow our common goal to develop and promote sports to make the world a better place.